superhero movies are only pretend, but I happen to believe that there are actual superheroes in real life who walk among us. And these superheroes are called trans people.
Superhero?
It's so like fetishization-y. Like, hey guys, welcome back to another Normal Gays React video where we take on LGBT insanity from the perspective of two gay guys who haven't lost our minds quite yet. I'm Brad Polumbo here with Clarkson Lawson. Clarkson, apparently, you know that guy, I think he was in Spy Kids, you mentioned, Alan Cumming. Well, he just went on a pretty bizarre rant about trans people. You know this guy somehow?
Yeah, he was in Spy Kids. He was one of the main characters. I think it was the first movie. He also is the host of, I don't know if you've seen the reality show, The Traitors.
No, I haven't. I'm not a reality TV guy.
It's a game show, but it is so good. Like, it is the best game show I have watched in so long. So this video that we're about to watch really disappointed me.
Yeah, he went full woke in like the most cringeworthy of ways too. Like, I don't know. So anyway, he was hosting Jimmy Kimmel's show in absentia, I guess. And here's what he had to say.
Superhero movies are only pretend, but I happen to believe that there are actual superheroes in real life who walk among us. And these superheroes are called trans people. Because...
Okay, there's a lot more, but can we just talk about how cringe that is?
I couldn't help but like chuckle. I just superhero.
It's so like fetishization-y. Like, oh, they're so. I think most trans people I know are people, so they either suck or they're great, depending on who they are as a person. Like, they're not some amazing. There's always this weird cult-like praise and worship of putting them on a pedestal that I actually think, I know they're trying to be helpful and like promote tolerance or acceptance or whatever. I think it kind of does the opposite. People bristle at the idea of a special, wonderful class of people.
No, and like I will say, sure, in today's culture, it's got to be like a little, I wouldn't say mentally tough, but just like
difficult, all the pushback.
Every time you open your phone or read one of a Republican's tweet, whatever it might be.
Nancy Mesa.
Yeah. So I get that aspect, but I think the problem with this messaging is that it's like an attempt to over dramatize trans experience in order to shame other people who don't necessarily agree with this over dramatization. And shame isn't working anymore. Like, cancel culture is not working. Shame's not working. So like you said, it's only going to push people further away from it. They're going to be like, superheroes? Really? I'm a cop. They're not superheroes. Or I was in the military. I'm a veteran. They're not superheroes. And then it just leads to resentment.
Yeah. Let's keep going because it actually gets worse.
Just like superheroes, trans people are born with something special and magical about them, and they often have to hide what's special and magical about them from other people. Like superheroes, they grow up in a society that doesn't understand them, that makes them the other and often hates them. Like superheroes, trans people just want the world to be a safer place, and they believe we should protect each other and live our lives in peace. Like superheroes, evil billionaires want to get rid of trans people for no reason whatsoever. And
so, two things. One, billionaires trying to get rid of trans people doesn't really seem like a thing. Some billionaires may be against kind of the modern trans rights movement, like Elon Musk, but plenty of other ones are not and are very supportive of it. It's not a billionaire thing. I don't know why you had to interject that. And then the idea that the controversy is just trans people who want everyone to live in peace and harmony and everything to be amazing, and evil meanies who want to delete them from existence.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's obviously a lot more complicated than that.
Well,
No,
sorry. I think what this comes down to is like a minimized effort to turn this into hero versus villain narratives. Because it makes it easier to digest for the average person. So I see this often where they'll paint trans people or one group out to be this like shining example of everything that's good in the world, and then the opposite group is just blatantly evil. And it's like, I don't know. I think the truth might be a little bit more complicated than that.
Yeah, I mean, clearly trans activists have pushed into territory where many people have reasonable issues. Transitioning kids, putting biologically male sex offenders in women's prisons. These are real things that have happened across the country and across the world. And it's not just evil, meanie people or diabolical billionaires who might have an issue with that. So I found it to be simplistic and cringe. And that's how it continued. Let's keep watching.
Just like superheroes, trans people are not new. They've been around forever and they're not going anywhere, no matter how much this administration tries to make you fear them. There is no evidence that trans people are a threat to women. There is, however, ample evidence that the President of the United States publicly brags about barging into beauty pageant dressing rooms and grabbing women by their p***s. Wake up, America! Come on! Millions of Americans are obsessed with this idea that trans people are attacking women in bathrooms. Do you know what trans people do in the bathroom? They poop and they pee. And I'm sure they always wash their hands afterwards. And why on earth, this is what gets me, why on earth would a rapist go to the bother of pretending to be trans in a country that actually treats rapists better than trans people?
Wait, he kind of ate with that, though.
The bit at the end I found kind of silly because I haven't known any trans people to be thrown in jail. I mean, he has a point about Trump being terrible to women. Yeah, that's a thing. We know. People have decided they don't care. And we could do a whole podcast on why that is. But it's like whataboutism. It doesn't actually address the actually saying, but there's this other bad thing over here. Okay, if people are concerned. But now I agree, there's not very much widespread documentation of trans people committing acts of violence in bathrooms or whatever against women. But the concern that people have is that by opening the door to self-ID and anyone can go anywhere, that people will be made uncomfortable and that bad actors will exploit the ambiguity and the vagueness, not even actual trans people. And I don't think those concerns are all illegitimate or that it's as simple as this black and white narrative that this guy wants to make it out to be.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I think the whataboutism is, I wouldn't say it's unnecessary because I think it does serve an important role in seeing the perspective of the people you're describing. And I think that he does bring the point home that Republicans do focus a little bit too much on trans issues. And that doesn't make them any less that doesn't make Republicans wrong on a lot of these issues, especially when it comes to like women's sports or minors transitioning. But I do think in the grand scheme of things, whataboutism is a little bit necessary to show the viewer where people's perspectives are. But again, it's still a little bit disingenuous because that's not what's happening. It's not like, Republicans are sitting here saying we hate trans people, we want them to disappear. Now, some are, I'm sure, like Matt Walsh, but that's not what's actually happening on the ground. Those aren't the discussions.
And then you do see these stories of like people who claim to be trans going into women's spas and just walking around with their male genitalia. Seriously. And then literally civil rights codes in certain parts of the country have enshrined that person's right to do so, to walk into an all-women's spa and have your penis just flailing around and walking around and making other women uncomfortable. That's their human right in some blue states to do. Obviously, when you have a regime that's so ridiculous like that in parts of the country, people are going to bristle at that, and I agree it gets disproportionate attention and outrage, but it's not a nothing burger or a non-issue.
Right.
And it's obviously something so inflammatory is going to resonate with people.
Yeah, and at the root of this discussion is whose uncomfortability should be addressed. And what they're saying is that the trans person matters more than the woman. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from because half the country are women. And if we open up one space, legally, we kind of have to open up all of them. So it is an important discussion, and I don't ever want to negate that. I do think that some people use it more as a political weapon than actually wanting to find solutions for it.
Definitely, but I also think Democrats make that too easy by like
Yeah,
refusing to just compromise on some of it. They could weaken the rhetorical force of that if they just said, "Yeah, we agree, kids shouldn't be transitioned." Like,
for sure.
so I see both sides of that. Now, what I'll also say is that this kind of like, did I miss the funny part? Like, did I miss the funny part? This is supposed to be Jimmy Kimmel. This is supposed to be late night. He's guest hosting. We're like, I hate this. This is why late night is dying. They don't even try to make people laugh. They try to make people clap.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think that's what a lot of Hollywood's doing, even in movies nowadays. You know, everybody just wants to have their political beliefs validated, or even if it's not necessarily political, but I guess like their side of the culture war. I wouldn't know how we define that, but yeah, I think creativity and art has really been infected by politics, and we're seeing that now. It's
I
really bad.
just find it lame, and it's like, this is why it's dying. No one wants to turn on the TV at night and be preached to, or the people that do is just a significant base of people that you're preaching to the choir, you're accomplishing nothing, you're not convincing anyone, and you are not being funny or entertaining. Like, if I want to just hear left-wing opinions about politics, why would I go to actors or comedians for that, right? I should go to academics, journalists, elected officials, people who that's their life's work. I just don't understand this, and I think people are turning against it.
Yeah, I think that creativity and art in and of itself is supposed to be a form of protest to something. But good comedians and like good art pokes at it without you realizing they're poking
And
at
they're
it.
not hitting you over the head with it, and they're making actual jokes.
Right. Exactly. So like he could make all of these points if he just sat back and wrote some jokes about it. But instead, he's like, no, I'm just gonna get in my soapbox and start preaching because I have an audience. And it's like, okay, cool. You're not convincing anyone. If you truly cared about what you were preaching, you would find a way to make what you're saying so entertaining that even the people that disagree with you chuckle. But
South Park just kind of did that. I personally didn't find their roasting of Trump particularly effective. I talked about this on my podcast, but I had a lot of people comment and say, yeah, I'm a Trump fan, but I thought the episode was funny, even though they roasted him. Like, if you do it well, people are still receptive to it. But Alan Cummings did not quite do it well, in my view. So what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Remember to subscribe to Clarkson's channel as well, linked in the description. And we'll be back with more normal gays content real soon.